Welcome to NeoEnglish, the podcast that helps you learn real English fast. Today, we have an interesting news topic for you about President Putin and how his recent talk could affect the relationship between the United States and Europe.
That's right. We will explain everything in simple English, so don't worry if you're just starting out. Let's begin with the story's background.
Recently, the leaders of many countries met in Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, to talk about the war there. Afterwards, Russia's President, Vladimir Putin, said he was open to talks about peace. But some people think he has another purpose.
Yes, some believe Putin's offer could be a bid to drive a wedge between the US and Europe. Let's pause here and explain bid and drive a wedge.
Good idea. A bid means an attempt or a try. For example, she made a bid to win the competition, or he put in a bid for a new house. So in the news, Putin's bid means his attempt to do something.
And drive a wedge means to create conflict or trouble between two people or groups. If I say, his words drove a wedge between friends, it means his words made the friends argue. Another example, rumors at work drove a wedge between the team members. In this news, Putin might want to make the US and Europe disagree.
That's right. So, Putin said Russia is ready to resume talks. Resume means to start again after stopping. For example, we took a break and then resumed our meeting. Or, after the rain stopped, the game resumed.
Yes, but some world leaders don't trust his offer. They're not sure if Putin really wants peace, or if he just wants to look good and make other countries argue.
It's also important to know that Putin does not call it a war. He says it's a special military operation. When you portray something, you describe it in a certain way, sometimes to make it look better. For example, the company portrayed their product as the best, or he portrayed himself as a hero.
Exactly. By saying special military operation instead of war, Putin is trying to make Russia's actions look different, maybe less serious or less aggressive.
Some leaders from the US and Europe were not happy about Putin's words. They think he is trying to divide them. Here, divide means to separate or split into parts. For example, the teacher divided the class into groups. Or, political issues can divide a country.
They worry that if the US and Europe cannot agree about what to do in Ukraine, they will not be strong together. This could help Russia.
So the main question is, does President Putin really want peace, or is he trying to create conflict between the US and Europe?
That is the big question. Now, let's review the important vocabulary and phrases from today's news.
The first word is bid. This means an attempt or try. For example, he made a bid to win.
Then we have drive a wedge. It means to make two people or groups disagree or fight.
Next is resume, which means to start again. Let's resume the lesson after a short break.
Portray means to describe or show something in a certain way. She portrayed herself as an expert.
And divide, to separate into parts or groups. Politics often divide opinions.
Now, let's use these words to tell the story again in another way.
Recently, world leaders met in Kyiv to talk about the war in Ukraine. After the meeting, Russia's president made a bid, or an attempt, to start talks again. However, he did not call it a war. Instead, he portrayed it as a special military operation. Some people think his offer isn't about peace. They believe he wants to drive a wedge, or create conflict, between the United States and Europe. If the US and Europe are divided, it could make things easier for Russia.
You did great following along today. You learned how bid, drive a wedge, resume, portray, and divide are used in conversations about current events.
If you found this episode helpful, remember to subscribe so you don't miss daily news in simple English.
Thanks for listening to NeoEnglish. See you next time.